Hello and welcome to the Castle Talk podcast, where we talk to writers and creators of today's genre worlds. From Denver, Colorado, I'm your host, Jason Henderson, author of the Alex Van Helsing series from HarperCollins. This week, Love is Love is a new comic anthology collection from IDW and DC Comics that gathers some of the greatest talents in comics today to tell stories in commemoration of the Pulse nightclub shooting of June 12th, 2016, honoring the victims, supporting the survivors, celebrating the LGBTQ community, and examining love in today's complicated world. The project was organized by Marc Andreyko, a New York Times best-selling writer of such works as Manhunter, Wonder Woman 77, Torso with Brian Bendis, as well as a lot of screenplays. He lives in LA with his dog, Frederick, and lots of books. Say hello, Mark.
Hello, everybody.
Hello and welcome. I'm so glad to have you on. Also with us, David Sexton is an artist and actor and playwright of the play It's a Fabulous Life, which is exactly what it sounds like. He's done comics work for Marvel with series such as Mystic Arcana and works like Taboo from Spider Baby and Kitchen Sink Press. David, welcome.
Hey, Jason.
Oh, thank you. And finally, Brent Peeples is an artist who has been working in comics since 2010. He has done work for many companies such as DC, Valiant, Dynamite, Image, and IDW. In this book, you do a Batman story. Brent, welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's so funny. I have this personal connection because Brent, you're in Texas, where I finally escaped from about 4 years ago. And David,
Yep.
you and I grew up together, which I can hardly explain. I mean, that's not quite true. We suffered through high school together. So
Yeah, we suffered through high school in Waco, Texas, which is a whole other part of Texas. It's a fascinating place.
I thought Waco was cool now because the fixer-upper couple are there.
It actually has become cooler. I wouldn't say cool without the ER, but I mean, it's become cooler. I think it's gotten a little trendier. I haven't been back since I fled many years ago, so I'd be fascinated to go back and check it out sometime.
That's when you fled the Koresh compound, right?
yeah.
That's exactly. I burnt it down and fled.
Yeah,
That's
he
right,
set the
Mark.
fire. Yeah, Janet Reno took the fall for him. The
Talk about a flaming homosexual. There you go.
so serious as a heart attack. The last time I saw David Sexton, I was crashing on some futon at his place because I'd gone to Austin to see a girl, and
Yeah.
the only time prior to that I had seen him, I literally was stabbing him with a sword on stage in
Yeah.
Macbeth. And that was back in 1980. Jesus Christ, that would have been like 86 or so.
86, I think it was 86.
Yeah.
Yes. You were
Yeah.
Macduff to my Macbeth.
Yeah. I mean, that was like this formative moment in my life. So anyway,
I know you've
all
actually
right.
written books about Macbeth since then, which is fascinating.
Yeah, no, I did. I did a whole
The
book
Iron
series
Thane.
about Macbeth. It's delightful that you would know that. Okay, so yes, Mark and David and Brent. All right, Mark, I'm going to address the first couple of these things about the genesis of the book to you to try to figure out how this. It's really big. I mean, it's a big, oversized collection of comics, and it reminds me of back when you used to have this, the summer specials from DC, and you'd have like 100 pages and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay, how did Love Is Love come together?
Well, the morning after it happened, I woke up and saw the news about how many people had been murdered and how many people were injured, and I just felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And as a child of the '80s and We Are the World and Comic Relief and Hands Across America and all that stuff, my initial reaction was, let's do something. Let the comics community do something. So I kind of rashly up on Facebook posted, "With the comic community should do something. We should do it. We should do a book to help these people. I'll organize it."
Hmm.
Not thinking that anything would happen of it. And then 6 hours later, I had over 70 email, voicemail, instant messages saying, "We're on board, we're on board, we're on board." So then I thought, well, I guess I'm doing a book.
Wow. Had you ever actually organized an anthology before, like with multiple creators?
Nope. There were two great editors on the book, Jamie Rich, who's the executive editor at Vertigo at DC, and Sarah Gatos, who handles most of the Hasbro material over at. And I've
Yeah.
worked with both of them before, and they both volunteered to take this job. And because they got all the technical stuff and the page sizes and the image resolutions and all that sort of thing. and I deferred to them as far as the order of the pages in the book because, you know, they have between them, gosh, probably 40 years of experience editing,
Sure.
and I wanted to get their opinions on pace. But most of the people were brought on either through me or people that reached out to me. So curator, originator is probably a better term.
I mean, having worked with Sarah, she has this deep attention to detail, you know, and how things are flowing.
Yeah. This book wouldn't exist without Jamie and Sarah. I know a lot of people, but I don't know how to make a book, and at least I didn't before this. And they, you know, I can't thank them enough because they have 2 full-time jobs. They're editing probably 30 books between them at any given moment.
Yeah.
And they did this on their own time outside of work. You know, Jamie was in the office till 3 in the morning the day before the book went to press, and for no other reason than he wanted to be a part of it. And that kind of sums up everybody's involvement in the book. Everybody was just so gracious and generous with their time and their talents. And not to say that I didn't have to nudge some people. I now know what editors deal with, so I've called every editor I've ever worked with, telling them.
Was that happening where like you guys can chime in actually, Brent and David, you know, like, so you decide you're going to be on a book like this. What kind of a deadline do you have, and then are you getting nudges from the editors when it's due?
Well,
So go ahead, Brent.
the deadline was as soon as humanly possible.
Brent, go ahead.
I knew that I had to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is tough when you're on a call.
Don't worry, I'll take care of it in
no
editing.
visual cues. Go ahead.
I came in late to the book, so Jamie contacted me and said, "Hey, I've got this script for Love Is Love. Can you do it?" And at the time, I was just starting another project with DC, so I was like, "Man, I don't know if I have time. I would love to do it, but I don't know if I have time." He said, "Look, man, it's only 2 pages, and I'll give you a whole week. So as long as you can get 2 pages done in a week." And I was like, "Okay, send it on over." And I mean, it was pretty quick after that. I think, you know, Jamie knew I was going to turn in the work, so it was really just, you know, when do you need it by? Okay, I'll get it knocked out. And he said a week. I think I just went ahead and banged it out in about 3 days, just to get it done, because it was such an important project. I didn't want it to fall through, you know what I mean, or be late or anything else like that. So, especially because I was coming into it late. So,
Well,
yeah, I mean,
it's such a neat opportunity, though. I mean, it's a Batman piece. You know, literally one of the most recognizable characters in the whole book.
Well,
I
didn't even know it was Batman until he, you know, I said yes. He just said, "Can you do this story?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Sure." He goes, "Oh, by the way, it's Batman." I was like, "Okay." I mean, that's even better. Like, I'm not going to say that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, to the listener, if you haven't seen the book yet, the way it lays out, you have this real, they're vignettes. All the stories are vignettes. Some are 5 or 6 pages long. Some are one page.
No. That's
There
not
are
true.
only 2 pages or 1 page.
So you can't I could have sworn that some of them went long. No?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. So no more than 2
Edit that
pages.
out.
You've got No. Okay. So we'll start here. This is your slate. Go. The stories are vignettes, and none of them are more than 2 pages long. So you've got many different stories, and some of them are poems, 1-pagers, art. Some of them are sequential storytelling. Some have recognizable characters, and some have independent characters. You know, so so sometimes you'll see a character that has been around since the 1930s, like Batman, you know, or you know, a Silver Age character like Supergirl, and then you'll see, you know, just very new stuff, and or completely independent new work that's just personal storytelling. David, actually, what's the piece that you did? I know that it was like the War of the Angels, correct?
Well, it was just an image that came to my head. That I was thinking of the rainbow. Each of the angels sort of represents color of the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an image that popped into my head. I thought of, you know, I wanted it to sort of start with one angel low, sort of suffering, and then sort of work through a spectrum of feelings until the end, which is sort of hopeful. it just popped into my head, and I mean, I did it. Once I had it in my head, I sketched it out a little bit and penciled it in one night. And I knew I needed to do it quickly because my inker is my friend and, comics legend Craig Russell, and he's always super busy in the middle of a million projects.
Yeah.
So I knew I could do it quickly, and I wanted to give him plenty of time to be able to squeeze into a schedule to pencil it, or to ink it rather. And then we had to get it to Laverne to color it. So even though I came in, I immediately said to Mark, yeah, I want to do this. Let me see if Craig will ink it. And, but I wanted to have plenty of time to work on it. I think, I think most of the people that got involved with it, they really wanted to be their best selves, and they wanted to get things done as quickly as possible. Because, I really felt for the editors with all these different contributors and the different talent. One thing Craig says all the time is, he's done a bunch of different adaptations, but he says, my favorite kind of collaborator is dead. Because, because it can be complicated when you're working with even one or two personalities, much less, there must have been 200 different creatives that were involved in this. So I thought, well, I'll be as good as I can and get things done as quickly as I can, because to make it easier on the editors and on Mark.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the neatest things I think about collaboration is when a team really snaps together, and so, something can be wrong like late in the stage, and any member of the team, can call up another member and go, something's not working here. Is there a last minute fix that we can do? But the thing that requires is like trust. Trust like you wouldn't believe, because you're definitely breaking the way things normally work. Mark, I'm looking at the book. The book is now published. We're going to talk in a minute about the response that you've gotten from it, all right? But before we get to that, what do you want, setting aside whether it's popular or not popular, what do you want people to get out of the book? Like somebody walking through the bookstore and they see Love is Love, what do you want them to get out of this piece?
That we should never be afraid of people being in love, that the other and the different isn't bad, and that we might love different genders or different races or different types of people, but the commonality that we share as sentient human beings is the concept of love, and that should be celebrated, not demonized ever. And this book is very specific about Orlando in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways this book, to me, because of the incredible way it's been embraced sales-wise and by the press and by other fellow creators, what I think about is if there's a kid in Oklahoma who doesn't have anything or any sort of gay culture or any sort of anyone to talk to.
Or a kid in Waco.
Yeah, this is you.
Or a kid who can see in this book that Batman and Superman and the Spirit and the Archie characters, it's okay, and they are valid and they are important, and to have I can't thank enough DC and IDW and the Will Eisner estate and the Archie company. It's unprecedented. Batman's a billion-dollar franchise character, and they let him be in this book. J.K. Rowling was so
J.K.
generous.
Rowling, yeah.
Harry Potter, arguably the biggest character on the planet at any given time. She allowed us to use a quote from one of her books of Dumbledore's, and Jim Lee illustrated it. Some young kids who are struggling are going to see stuff like that, and that's going to give them hope. Yeah. And that's a gift worth more money than you could ever have. And that's the thing. It is what it is. There's no hidden theme in this one. If this was an English exam, you could say, "What's the theme of the book?" Well, read the title. Yeah.
Do you think that if I look back at like the 80s, if I think of like the AIDS era, Reagan, treating it at the arm's length is like the nicest way that I could say it, and can you imagine such a book coming out at any previous time? What do you think about how much our culture has changed in the last few years?
Well, I was just hitting my teenage years when the AIDS crisis started. So, I'm very cognizant of the fact that if I was 10, 12 years older, I could be dead right now, or I could have gone to hundreds. I have friends older than me who went to hundreds of funerals in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And to see how the world didn't respond back then, this has been the polar opposite. I've gotten a little grief from some LGBT creators. There's a lot of straight people in this book, and for me, I was like, well, that's part of the point. The Pulse massacre hit everybody hard, and I didn't want to just have an LGBT point of view. It was important that the LGBT people saw that straight people were really affected by this. I had so many straight creators say, I have an LGBT child, or I have an LGBT brother or sister, or creators who are trans, and they wanted to help. They wanted to, and I think that the idea of picking and choosing help, I don't want to be divisive about that. I wanted to take the help from anybody who wanted to offer it.
Yeah.
And inclusion works both ways. And I think this event, part of the reason of doing it was doing this book. People are going to be able to revisit this book months and weeks and years into the future, and the book will hurt. The book is a hard read. It's an emotional read, and the pacing the editors did is great. And it's ultimately, I think, a very defiant and hopeful book.
Yeah.
But the book is an emotional read, and it should be. Things like this should hurt for a long time. The moment we get blasé about the profound permanent injuries of 53 people and the murders of 49 young people who were just there to have fun, the moment we get hard and cold about that is the moment we as a society should go extinct. This pain should not be forgotten, and we have a duty to, because of all the lives and the energy and the things that could have been created that were lost, we have a duty to celebrate these people and be defiant for them and not hide who we are.
I think that something Mark said about including, straight, gay, whatever contributors is interesting, in that I didn't even read the book that way. Like, who was this, a straight contributor or a gay contributor? It's you look at it and you think, oh, it's a message. It sort of reminds me of the first time I met Dennis Cowan. I said to him, I was like, it's so crazy when I was a kid, like, I didn't realize you were black. Like, all I knew, he sort of was like, what? And then he laughed. You don't think of creators as the person or as something, a stereotype or anything. You're just responding to this image and this art that they're putting forth. And that's the way that I read the book. It was like every page was just fascinating to me, all the different interpretations of love and pain. And I was just amazed by it. And I certainly didn't think, is this a woman? Is this a man? Are they straight? Are they gay? I just responded to the artwork and the message that they were putting out, and that's the way it should be.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it, but it's true. You see those names when you're younger, and they're just names. They're just sort of like demigods, Marv Wolfman.
Yeah.
I mean, who? what cloud does Marv Wolfman live on? and can you go
you
there?
don't think just think of them as creatives or people you admire, and all the rest of the stuff. It doesn't matter. They're just talented, and they're people that are inspiring you. So that's the way I looked at the book.
That's true, but I keep thinking, somebody, I can understand why somebody might argue that way, Mark. I mean, if they're just feeling very raw, and so they're feeling very angry, and they're wanting to, does that make sense? That somebody might sort of.
It makes sense to me in the immediacy of it, but for me, people questioning the creator's validity by their sexual orientation is kind of the same kind of profile.
It's reverse.
It's the same kind of profile. It's the same kind of profile.
Yeah, exactly. It's everything we've been fighting against for years, that we don't get discriminated against because we're gay. Then why should we just, if their heart is in the right place and they're producing something that's beautiful and good, we shouldn't say, no, you're not a part of it.
Part of the book. It's also part of the book.
Yeah.
Emotion, love transcends gender and race.
Exactly.
Brent, you were going to say
as a straight creator in the book.
Yeah, right. Let's hear from the straight guy.
I did the day that the book was released. When I got the gig, I haven't even been able to read the entire book all the way through. When I was working on the script that Mark Guggenheim had written for me, or that he wrote that I was working on, it almost brought me to tears drawing the pages. It was very difficult. Probably emotionally the hardest thing I've ever had to draw in my short 8-year career in comics. But I was very humbled to be a part of that, because I have many friends that are gay, and there's a store in Dallas named Zeus that has a big LGBT community that shops there. The owners are a married gay couple, and that's where I met one of my best friends who is gay, and so to be a part of something like this, even as I don't think it should matter if you're straight or gay or black or white or man or woman or whatever you are. I think it's contributing to something that needs to make a difference. And when we did the book came out. We did a signing at Zeus, and we sold 76 copies that day.
My God. That's really good for a signing. That's incredible for a signing at a bookstore.
Yeah,
that is.
And a $10 book.
Right.
We sold through 76 copies, and the response that I was getting from the gay community that were shopping there was, I had my fiance with me, so obviously they knew I was straight, and it was not about, there was nobody that kind of looked at me sideways, well, how come you worked on this book if you're a straight man or anything like that. It was, thank you very much for the work that you put into this. And I got a text from a friend of mine who said, a bottle of wine and a box of tissues later, I finally made it through the book. And I want to say thank you for what you did. He said, the way you handled such a delicate subject matter was done so well, and I could see the emotion and the feeling in it, and thank you so much. It means so much. And I think that's why all of us did it. Nobody got paid to do this. And as freelancers, that's the first thing we always ask is, what's the pay? And that was no sweat off my back. I put my other DC gig on hold, which I was able to do for a few days to get this thing done. And it was because it needs to be said that no matter what the situation is, something like this is not okay. And so anyway, that's my point of view. I was very humbled and honored to be a part of something like this.
I love the moment. There's a Nunzio De Philippis story where he I think encapsulates, if I can imagine, sort of the pressure, Mark, that you might have been feeling as an organizer. So in this story, it's a guy who's getting advice from his parents after the nightclub shooting, and the advice sort of is everything that I would imagine a gay creator has to be right now. Is like, be yourself, also be brave by making a statement by being yourself, and being yourself is performative, and it's sending a message that you're not afraid. But and there's all of this sort of pressure to both be natural but also make a statement. And I wonder, it seems to me that everybody probably dealt with that pressure on every single story.
Well, even removing what the book was for or the book was about, telling people they have 1 or 2 pages maximum to do something is, it's really easy to be an actor when you have all the lines in the play. But when you're reacting to things, there's a whole different world there, and it was challenging. It was challenging for me. It was why the 2 pieces I did are very text light and on the simpler side, because but it also allowed people to kind of have to compartmentalize in a way everything they were feeling and try and get it across in a way but a lot of the creators were a little nervous. They're like, I don't want to come off condescending. I don't want to. I said, just be honest.
Yeah.
Write something that you feel. I'll let you know if I think it's not correct, or if it's
Don't be
emotionally wrong,
condescending.
or if it's maudlin or anything like that. And there was next to no editing done on this book as far as the.
I bet that's true. Yeah.
There were a couple of panels on a couple of pages that were changed in the order of for impact, or a couple of costumes needed to be redrawn. But other than that, this book sort of sprang fully formed from each creator, and that's what I wanted. I don't want a book like this to be proper and clinical. I want this book to be emotional and risk being messy and risk being too sincere, because that's what we're all feeling. We're all still raw about this. I mean, it took me 3 days to read the final book, and I knew what all the pieces were.
Yeah.
And and one of the most unbelievable. I mean, this has just been an embarrassment of riches as far as DC coming to the table and saying you can use our characters, and Jim Lee saying I'll do this, J.K. Rowling. It's been so crazy. But a couple of weeks ago, after the book came out, I got an email from the mother of one of the guys that was murdered, and she said that she said I was feeling really bitter and angry. I lost my only child, and I was feeling angry and feeling myself get bitter and removed from the world. And then I read this book, and it dissolved.
Wow.
What?
I know I can't wrap my head around that. That's a very difficult thing to.
I mean,
except for
this woman
well, the killer disappears. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you. We'll start over. Go ahead. What you're going to say.
This woman who experienced one of the worst losses you could experience in your life, not only read the book, but was moved by the book and felt the need to reach out and tell me that if the shoe was on the other foot, I don't know if this had been one of my kids or someone that I loved who was killed. I don't know if I would be as gracious and open as so many of the victims and their families have been. And it's humbling.
I think there's a movement, and this book is part of it. And, it was so crazy, Meryl Streep saying that thing on Golden Globes, take your broken heart and turn it into art, the Carrie Fisher quote. And I really feel like, there's a thing that's happening with what Mark did, which is amazing, and what people are doing. Instead of just sitting on their sadness or mourning in silence, with they're taking that anger or sadness or whatever it is, that energy, and turning it into something. And I think that's an amazing change. It's an amazing way to focus that kind of energy, to do something positive with it, no matter how negative it is, no matter how painful it is. And I think, that's part of the experience of even reading the book, is you look at something that's horrible and awful, and it's transformed in part into something that's beautiful and inspiring in front of you. I mean, it's pretty miraculous.
Okay, but I have a challenging question. I don't mean challenging necessarily to you, but just trying to wrap my head around something very hard about art right now. And that's it. What you said seems to be true, right? The conversation seems to be much more intersectional, much more universal right now, as far as the different pressures and the different realities that different people face. And yet at the same time, I think more than ever before, there's an angry backlash. I think every time somebody does something positive, there's also a lot of Twitter conversation and a lot of writing on the web from a lot of angry people. What the hell is going on as far as the conversation right now? Because I've never seen so much conversation as compared to the last 18 months about people arguing loudly with one another about the presentation of gays, the presentation of women, the way that the female characters are going to be drawn, and on and on and on. These issues that didn't used to exist at all, ever, have suddenly come to the fore, and people are getting really up about it.
I think it's there. It just wasn't being communicated like it is now. There's a universal forum for conversation, and people are expressing themselves.
Mark, what were you going to say?
You know, I read a review. I read a review of the book. I didn't read the whole thing, but somebody made a blurb this is on a personal level. Someone said that me and Guggenheim's script was distasteful because we had Batman surveying the scene when there were still bodies on the floor. And, you know, I think, one, it's not distasteful. I think it's a very true thing that people need to see and experience.
Yeah.
I think Mark wrote what would happen if Batman were real, and that's the first thing he's going to do is go survey the scene and do his detective work.
Yeah.
That's the scene that you're. This is a real situation. I don't think it's distasteful. I think it's real, and I think that.
And the part of the thing is that talking about the piece that Brent did, you know, the whole thing of the piece is about Batman can't figure out why this happened.
Yeah.
Right. If Batman can't figure out a motive for this, are we ever going to understand why things like this happen? And there's always the bad versions of using real heroes in actual events. But this book was so much. This book wasn't a story. This book was, like you said, vignettes or images, and it was much more metaphoric than it was literal.
Right.
I mean, the TV actor Matt Bomer wrote a piece that Cully Hamner drew with Batman and Nightwing outside the club, equating being gay to being a superhero with a secret identity, that you have to hide your true self. And it was just so simple and so elegant. And people that get mad about this are going to get mad about something because that's what they do. They wake up. We have a culture now with Facebook and instant messages and Twitter where people wake up and say, "What am I going to be horribly offended by today?" And 99 times out of 100, it's nothing important. It's about the dress Michelle Obama wore, or they drew that girl with her breasts too big, or something. I want to say to these people, did you vote?
Right.
Do you know who your senators are?
Well,
Channel the anger to things that matter.
Yeah,
right.
And I think that anger that vents itself in the trolling of the sites and everything, clearly it comes from anger at themselves and their situation. And, you know, if they were happier, they wouldn't be needing to be so concerned about the fact that Batman's looking at dead bodies, or that, you know, I remember when Captain America got killed in the comic books, Marvel got death threats, and I was like, he's not real. Captain America is not real.
No,
like,
the thing is too, you know, I don't know why anyone chooses to be angry and offended all the time. I'm far too old and far too lazy to wake up and be in a bad mood. I could, there's an old '70s bumper sticker that was, it takes 12 muscles to smile and 200 to frown, and it's absolutely true. Life is going to throw bad things at us on its own. I also say my tagline is, I get paid to write drama. I don't create drama in my own life. That will happen on its own. And I hope that people can take the passion, the misguided passions, and put them towards something that really matters, because it's going to be very, very important in the next 4 years to be on guard at all times, because we are living through something that if I had written this, what is happening in the world right now, as a script, I would have been forbidden to write ever again, because it would be ridiculous. It's unbelievable nonsense. And hopefully things like the Women's March that just happened this weekend, and the fact that we're going into a fourth printing of Love is Love. And
oh my God, we're going into a fourth printing? I didn't know that. That's
news. In fact, let's why don't you segue that into what the response has been? I mean, we heard a little bit about one of the signings, but where has it gone, Mark?
The response has been crazy. It debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. It has been. We've sold through 3 printings. The 4th printing is being done right now, I believe, and looks like that's going to sell out. We had an event for it at Golden Apple, the comic book store I shop at here in LA, on the January 4th, and it was right after the holidays. Everyone's tired and recovering from the holidays, and it was raining. So I'm like, if 20 people show up, I'll be happy. They had 250 people show up. Golden Apple sold 250 copies of this book in 2 days.
Wow.
Well, I know that I texted some people in New York City actually a couple of guys at Valiant talking about work, and I asked them if they got their copy. They said New York City sold out that Wednesday.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy. It was.
You couldn't even find it in Manhattan.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
didn't
in
you-
New York, and I went to the Big Apple comic book store, and I said, do you have copies of it? And they said, we haven't been able to get them back in since the day that it came out. We've been sold out that whole time. I said, keep trying.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's fabulous. But that's truly fabulous. I mean that, it's like that moment at the end of Field of Dreams when it turns out that they really are coming to the, that
Yeah.
that's, because think how many wonderful pieces of art you've done and how many plays you put on and how many works you do where everything's firing on all cylinders, but, not that many people find out about it and all you can do is just go, hey, that was a really good piece. I feel confident about it. But this is not that story. This story doesn't go that way. People really did come. So that's truly wonderful. Gosh, I would love to talk to you guys all night, but I know we're running low on time.
I have one more little plug really quick. We're doing a book signing in Miami Beach on February 12th, and Brad Meltzer's going to be there with me on Lincoln Road, Books and Books. So if any of your listeners are in the Miami or South Florida area, they're welcome to come to that February 12th.
Well, and while we're on the subject, plug whatever you
also,
want, and also tell me your URLs. So go ahead.
And also at MegaCon in Orlando in May, we're going to be there and auctioning off a lot of the art from the book and a lot of
that's
auctions. And a lot of the creators are going to be there. We'll hopefully have some exclusive stuff for the convention that will also be there to raise money. And then a bunch of us, people that have the intestinal fortitude, as it were, are going to make a pilgrimage to the actual site of the club. I kind of feel I have to do that. I kind of owe it to these people. So yeah, it just keeps rolling along, and hopefully we'll be able to keep the book in print for a very long time.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Mark, is there a website you would want people to hit for you, or a public Facebook page or something?
I'm all over Facebook, putting liberal Pinko Tommy stuff everywhere, and then I'm on Twitter at Marc Andreyko.
Okay, outstanding. David, URL?
SextonCreativeLLC.com is my website, and I'm also on Facebook, so that's probably a good way to reach me. And people can get the book on Amazon.com or through IDW if they go to the site, if it's available. You have to just put your order in, and then as soon as the new printing comes out, you'll be able to get your copies.
Outstanding. Brent, what about you?
I'm on Facebook. It's just my name, Brent Peeples. It's spelled with two E's, Peeples.
Outstanding.
I didn't get the easy name. Also, Twitter's the same way. It's just at People's Art, and Instagram is the same way, at People's Art. And before we go, Mark, I just want to say that I am super, super humbled and honored to be a part of this project. I know Jamie brought me on, but I just want to say thanks to you for allowing me to be a part of this project. It really meant a lot.
Well, right back at you. You really came in and saved our bacon in a lot of ways, because we had an artist who had been promising that he was drawing Mark's piece for a very long time, who never did it. And Brent came in and did a beautiful, lovely piece, and really did a great justice to Mark's words. So, I don't have any grudge against anybody that had to drop out or anything. Everybody's super busy, so that wasn't said in any sort of bad way. I mean, everybody who works on this book has multiple jobs, and sometimes the instinct to help, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. So, but Brent was one of the guys. Jamie Rich said, "I know the perfect guy for this," and you came through better than I could have ever hoped. So, thank you as well.
Well, I want to thank you too, Mark. I want to thank you too, Mark. We've known each other since we met in Craig Russell's house 20 years ago or more. So it's
28 years ago.
Good
Oh
Lord.
my God! Did you have to? Yeah, so it's been a while. But you know, it's amazing. I've seen Mark. What?
But I was still in the womb.
Yeah, that's exactly how that went down. But I mean, I've seen Mark like go out to LA and you know, fight the good fight for years and years and make it amazing, prove himself. But I mean, I really think this is something that is going to be a legacy of yours for a long, long time. So I'm really proud of you.
Well, thank you very much. I hope it just, if it changes a couple of minds, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. That's
And thank you,
fabulous.
Jason, for having us on the show tonight and helping spread the word about the show, about
Listen,
the book.
I'm super excited to spread the word about this. I really loved this piece. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to my friends. I think it could mean a lot to my family, and I'm just really thankful. So the book is Love is Love. It was originated by Marc Andreyko. It's edited by Sarah Gatos and Jamie Rich, and with us today have been David Sexton, Brent Peeples, and the originator himself, Marc Andreyko. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys soon, and I will run into you guys on Facebook. And if you are a listener, come to the Facebook page and let us know questions I should have asked, or comments, thoughts, and I'll try to do follow-ups.
And the book is the new printings are shipping in the next week or so, so you can back order it on Amazon or order it at your local comic book store. They will be shipping as soon as humanly possible. So even though it says temporarily out of stock on Amazon, order it, you will get one.
Awesome.
And we will all sign it.
Yep.
We'll
Don't
all
promise
sign
that.
it.
Or you're going to be UPSing it around the country. You'll sign it if they send
find
it
us,
to you.
we will sign it.
Right. Exactly. All right. Have a lovely evening, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.